Russ Baker is an award-winning investigative journalist and author of the bestseller Family of Secrets about the Bush dynasty. He also founded and edits the website WhoWhatWhy.com. Russ, it's great to see you and speak to you. I want to talk about the possibility of a dark horse Republican candidate emerging, somebody who is not one of these final four potential candidates that we have at this point. How could this happen? Who are our Republican insiders thinking it could be? Give us the sense of it.
Sure. Well, first of all, the actual delegate count is far from certain. There are very, very complicated rules, and so the people who prevailed in particular primaries may not end up getting all of those votes because the delegates often are determined later at state or even localized conventions. Very, very complicated, very different from state to state. That's one thing. We also don't know what will happen in the remaining states. And then there are the possibilities that some that were going to be winner take all, where Romney would have prevailed, may in fact be awarded differently at the convention on a proportional basis. So there are a whole bunch of things up in the air. Several things caught my attention. One was that the governor of Maine had stated that he wouldn't mind at all if the convention ended up being deadlocked and going to a dark horse. And I think there's quite a bit of sentiment for that because really none of the candidates, including the frontrunner Romney, are strong contenders. Certainly, I think that as time passes, they're going to see that they really don't have anybody that strong to run against Obama, and this will be of concern. Now, so then the question is, well, what happens? So if you get to the convention and nobody has the required number of delegates on the first vote, the convention can be thrown open and a dark horse can appear. And of course, if that dark horse were someone tremendously popular, the delegates might very easily swing in that direction. So then the question would be, who might that person be? And we have an article up on our website, WhoWhatWhy.com. To find it, just type Jeb Bush in the search box, and you can read all about this. Jeb Bush, there you go. Why Jeb Bush? Well, a couple of factors. First of all, this country seems to have a love affair with political dynasties, and the Bush family, we certainly haven't heard the last of them. Jeb Bush has been positioning himself now for a while as a kind of an elder statesman of the Republican Party, traveling widely around the United States, speaking to great responses, by the way, and taken very, very seriously.
Okay, now let's say that that does happen. You would think that you would need a candidate that is so popular, that will be so uniting of the Republican vote, that it will go above and beyond the negative effect that kind of showing weakness among the Republican Party would have a negative effect, wouldn't it? I mean, if after all of this primary process, it goes to someone who wasn't even involved up until the convention, that has to help Barack Obama's re-election campaign, does it not?
It could, but on the other hand, we don't know how people are going to react, and because there, I think, is some widespread skepticism about the Republican candidates in general, that may be seen as a coming together, as a kind of a healing, and Jeb Bush is, as I say, rather popular, especially considering how unpopular his brother was when he left office not very long ago. Jeb is seen as not necessarily correctly, but he's seen as more moderate, more thoughtful. He certainly makes a better presentation, more articulate, a better thinker on his feet, let's say. And so I think it's entirely possible that in a situation like that, Jeb would be formidable. I mean, I think he would come in with a greater stature than any of those other candidates. Let's keep in mind also that Florida, of course, is absolutely crucial to an Obama victory, and Jeb Bush, I think, right away moves Florida out of that category. He also, of course, his family very influential in Texas and in also, I think, in Ohio, and that, of course, being another very, very important swing state. So, this is not just fanciful. I mean, one of the things I point out in that article is that the Bush family has been very avidly looking for opportunities to get back into the White House. And in fact, there were two very curious meetings between Jeb Bush and his father, not with W, but Jeb and his father met with Obama privately shortly after Obama took office. No explanation of what that meeting was about. It's unusual, to say the least. for that kind of meeting to take place. And it took place again recently. Jeb and his father were back to talk to Obama. Now, my sense is that what they're expecting is that Obama runs, Obama wins, and then 4 years hence, Jeb is the Republican standard bearer. That's the more likely scenario.
Sure.
But it is also possible that if the Republicans cannot get their act together and the polling goes a certain way, that Jeb could be persuaded to enter. I mean, certainly the corporate interests that are not too happy, particularly with people like Santorum and so forth, and actually have some kind of mixed feelings about Romney, would be very, very happy to have somebody like a Jeb Bush in the picture.
The last angle I want to get your thought on here is we're now seeing, we just finished having these 3 days of hearings regarding the constitutionality of the Obama health care reform bill. Presumably around June, we're going to hear some kind of decision on that. Given Mitt Romney's connection to both the federal plan that was passed by, that was put forth by the Obama administration, and Mitt Romney's involvement in such a similar plan while governor of Massachusetts, could the Republican nomination, could his stake be affected depending on what happens with that decision? Could that play into bringing in a dark horse candidate?
That is a very, very interesting scenario. I mean, obviously, the Republicans would have a tremendous opportunity if the ruling goes in their favor. But as you point out, if it's a Romney, they sort of squander that opportunity and things become neutralized. You can be sure that the Obama people will be out there powerfully reminding all of us about Romney's position on all of this, and in the end that thing probably becomes a wash unless it's not Romney. So you're absolutely right. That is another one of the wild cards.
So in a sense, if healthcare reform is voted down or decided against by the Supreme Court and Romney is the nominee, that would actually be better for President Obama, although otherwise it could be argued Romney may be the toughest opponent.
Yes, and in fact, if Obama and his people are clever, and they seem to generally be, I think what they would do is they would say, listen, the problem here, I don't know how you do this because the Supreme Court of the United States is sacrosanct, but the reality is that it's a highly politicized outfit, and which president appoints which justice has a lot to do with politics. And so there may be a way, if not for Obama himself, for his supporters to point out that if you re-elect Obama, you at least have a chance to make some adjustments to the Supreme Court in a manner that at least they would argue benefits the American people.
That's a great point, too. We've been speaking with Russ Baker, award-winning investigative reporter. The website is WhoWhatWhy.com. You can check out the article about Jeb Bush as a potential Republican dark horse and plenty more. Keep up the great work, Russ, and really great to speak to you today.
Thank you very much.